And of course, everyone else. I hope you're having a great day today. Over here, it's pretty sunny. A little bit of clouds, but not too bad. Uh, I mean, as long as it's not a hurricane or earthquake or tornado, then I mean, it's a great day to be alive, right, man? And I say that, and I say it is a great day to be alive because today we are doing network access translation, also known as NAT, which is what we will be calling it from now on, because, I mean, we made acronyms for a reason. Imagine you had to say network address translation every single time, or internet protocol version 4 every single time. My goodness, I think we'd all commit suicide at some point, right? But today we are doing NAT. So our objective today, we are going to configure NAT using PAT, or otherwise known as Port Address Translation. So we got our NAT using PAT. It's perfect. It rhymes. Beautiful. Establish connectivity between a private network, our network, and an external network, which will just be like a web server. We're going to verify that the NAT translations have, of course, worked, because why wouldn't we? All right? Why these are important. NAT allows private IP addresses to communicate with external networks using a public IP. It helps to conserve IPv4 addresses, which is very important because if you see an IPv6 address, it is very long, very hard to remember. Yeah, it's just not fun. So we like these. IPv4, we want to keep these around as long as we can. And we figured out a good way to do it. So the different types of NAT, you can do static, you can do dynamic, and you can do path, otherwise known as overload, which is what we're gonna do. Path. Static NATs are our one-on-one mapping of private to public. Again, that's no real point to that. This would basically be for security purposes. Uh, Dynamic maps public IPs to a pool of public IPs. Again, this would be more for just like automation. The one we're doing, PAT, it allows multiple private IPs to share one single public IP address, which is what conserves the uh, the IPv4 addresses, which is exactly what we're doing this for, right? Uh, Equipment and software. I mean, you can use a real switch. We are going to be using Packet Tracer. Uh, we'll go through a little bit of the steps. We're going to configure our PCs. We're going to configure our router interfaces. We're going to create a simple ACL, or access control rule, okay, to allow the IPs on our internal network to be translated. We are going to make sure that our external interface is in overload mode, which again is going to allow for our private IPs to translate into one public IP. We are going to ping our web server from our private PCs just to make sure that that connectivity is there. And we're going to check to make sure our network translation is working. So this is getting dull even for me. So let's get to it. Let's get to the exciting stuff. The packet tracer, the CPT as it's known on the mean streets of IT. So first, configure your PCs. We got Greg, we got Jen, we got our guy Ash Ketchum from Pokemon, or if you're over the age of 50, you call it Pokemon for some reason, who knows why. Uh, that's just how the 50 plus brain works. Uh, Very strange, but moving on from that, configure your private PCs to have private IPs. You see, we got .1.10 for Jen, we got .1.20 for Greg, and we got .1.30 for our guy Ash. Here is our network, 192.168.1.0. We got our switch here, John Smith. You always need a John Smith in these things. Why? I don't know. But I mean, it is what it is. John Smith. Let's move on to John Smith, shall we? So here's our main thing. Before I forget, you're gonna have to also configure the web server. Here's its IP that I gave it. Again, you can give it any IP you want. Just make sure that it's a public IP address, okay? So I gave it 200.200.200.10. So that's configured. And here's our main thing. Our router, our guy NAT time. Because it is that time, it's NAT time. And as you can see here, I've already done some stuff. I did shoot this video one time before previously, but I didn't notice the mic was on mute. So I had to redo the whole thing again. So I'm working hard for you guys. So let's start from the very beginning. Let's get out of here and let's get into the start. You open your router, you're here. We're gonna enter enable mode. We're gonna enter config mode. And now we're gonna configure our interfaces, right? We got our internal interface here. We got our external interface here. We're gonna configure those. So our internal one, we're gonna configure it so that it has our IP, our gateway IP, right? So that everything, all of our private stuff can go out our gateway. So we're gonna give it an IP address, 192.168.1.1. And of course, our good friend, the subnet mask. Make sure it's open with the no shut. And it's open. Beautiful. Okay, so now that we're here, and I mean, you can do this in any order that you want, but because we're here, we're gonna just configure this interface so that it's our inside, our internal interface on our NAT. So to do that, you're just gonna put in IP NAT inside. Simple as that. Boom. So now our router takes this as the inside of our NAT. Now we're gonna switch interface GI 0/0/0, which is our external, and we're going to give this one the IP. Now this is the IP address right here. That will be our public one. All of our private IPs, oops, let's get back, are going to switch, are going to be translated into this when they go out into the scary world of the internet or the World Wide Web, whatever you want to call it. And of course, stick it in there. You know you gotta stick it in there. The subnet mask. We're also gonna make sure that it's open, no shut, and just like we did, making this our internal interface, we're gonna make this one our external. So you're just gonna put an IP NAT outside. Perfect. Okay, so now we need to exit our interfaces, get back into config mode, and at this point we are going to create our ACL or our rule, whatever you want to call it, to allow our all of the private IP addresses on our private network to be translated. So for this, you're just going to put in access a dash list. We are going to call this, let's just name it one. Okay. And we're going to, of course, permit. We are permitting. So you're going to type in permit, and then you're going to type in your network. So whatever you gave your network, you're going to type that in. And instead of this time, instead of our subnet mask, we're going to use our wild mask. So, which is, of course, is just kind of the opposite of your subnet mask, right? So we have created our access list. I mean, our ACL. And now we're going to configure our external interface so that it is in overload mode. So for that, we're going to type in IP NAT inside source, and then we're going to type in our list, the list that we created. Where is it? Up here, our list one. So the inside source list one, and then we're going to put in the interface that it is on, our external one, 000. And we're just going to type in overload, put it in overload mode. Okay, so that is done. Now that that's all done, that's our configuration on our router. Okay, pretty simple, right? Pretty easy. So now we are going to ping. We are going to make sure that our PCs can ping our web server, because if they can't, then what's the point? Who should we do first? Jen? Let's do good old Jen. Jen's working hard. As you can see, I did this before in the video. You gotta do it again. Why not? We gotta make sure it works, right? Ping 200.200.200.10, which is, of course, the IP of our web server. Hit enter. If this is your first time pinging, it may say request timed out for the first one. Just wait a little bit. You should get replies after. I don't know why Packet Tracer does that, but hey, it happens, right? So 4 were sent, 4 were received. We're swinging 100. Exactly what we want. All right, so let's see. I'm just gonna hit this a couple times, just because sometimes Packet Tracer, it doesn't like to show stuff. We're gonna get back in enable mode. We're gonna type in show IP NAT translation. Is it translation or translations? I forget. We're gonna try this one first. It's not gonna show us anything. That's fantastic. No, so I'm pretty sure it's the first one. Why is it not showing us? I don't know. Ping worked. We can tell the ping worked because if we put in show IP NAT statistics, let's get back here. Let's try a different computer. Let's try our guy Ash. My boy Ash, he's done catching Pokemon. He's not 10 years old anymore. He's got a sweet office job. Ash is gonna catch some pings instead. Of course he is. He's the master. He's caught 4 for 4. Beautiful. So now we're gonna go into our NAT. Don't make me look bad, Packet Tracer. I know it's working. I just did it in the last video. So, I mean, you could see there has been translations because we've had a bunch of translations that have expired. All right, so let's try this one here. I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna open it again. I'm gonna exit all this. I'm gonna end. I'm gonna exit. We're gonna fast forward. Packet Tracer's hating me today, man. Yeah, we're in enable mode. I'm even gonna get out of enable mode. Okay, so let's get back into enable mode. Let's ping again. Let's get our replies. Let's get in there. And then let's do show IP NAT translation. Uh, statistics. So, I mean, sometimes it is this way. Sometimes Packet Tracer is this way. I hope that your guys is working better than mine. If you see this, there we go. Finally, gee, Louise. So, here's our translation. Show IP NAT translations. So here, basically what it's telling you is here's our IP, right? This is Greg. This is our guy Greg sending out. Here's his private IP. It's going to this one, the web server. But here, through the inside global, you see inside global here, it's showing what we're doing, ICMP, right? Also known as ping. It's showing that our IP has been changed. And there's the public IP that we stuck in our external interface, right? 200, 200, 200.1. So this is what the internet is seeing. Our private to our public. Perfect. If we do the statistics, now it should say how many leases it's given out. I mean, it's still not showing why not. I don't know. It should say here because it pinged 4 times. It should say total translations 4. It is showing how many have expired, how many hits, how many misses there have been. So, I mean, that's something, right? So, if your connection is not working, if nothing is working, just make sure the IPs, the gateways, the IPs on your computers are set properly. I mean, you can go here, you can see the address, the router, the gateway. Make sure the one on the web server is correct. You need to make sure that both interfaces. So let's do show IP interface brief, and you'll be able to see the IPs that you've configured for each interface. Here's the internal one again. Here's the external one again. Our public IP. You can make sure that your ACL is configured properly. Here we can see we've created that ACL that allows all of our public IP, I mean our private IPs on our private network to be translated. So that's all good to go. So our time together is coming to an end. Uh, you have pinged you have pinged the web server. You've checked the translation. Translations work. You've checked the statistics. You've seen how many times it's been translated, so you know it works. Uh, I mean, even if it hasn't and you're troubleshooting at this point, still, you are indeed awesome because you have configured your NAT or will be configuring your NAT, enabling private to public network communication. Not only have you saved all of humanity from running out of IPv4s, leaving us to deal with IPv6s, which would end humanity, I do believe. You have also helped to make your network a little bit more secure, which of course is also paramount. We'll use that word, paramount. And whether you like it or not, I assume most of us do, we are all connected. So that's it for me, JTIT. I hope you had a nice time with the NAT. I hope Packet Tracer did not give you the little issue that it gave me at the end there. I hope everything went smoothly. I mean, even if it didn't, hey, no hurricanes, earthquakes, or tornadoes for us today. So, have a great day, and I will see you next time. Take it easy.